Hello friends, I'm so glad that you joined me today. Today is a compilation video of some of my favorite Christmas tree DIYs. These are all videos from previous DIY video content from my channel. So the original voiceovers may contain outdated information. So sit back, enjoy, and let's get crafting. We're going to get started with this little hanging house piece that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I've had it in my stash for a minute, and these adorable little star cutouts that I ordered from Shein, however you want to say it. And they were very inexpensive. They came in a lot of different sizes in one package. They were very inexpensive. Now I'm going to arrange them in the shape of a tree on this house. I'm going to take some aviary paint by DIY. I'm going to take this little sponge paint brush, which I cut the tip off of so that I could use as a dauber. And I'm just going to splash a little paint on each one of these. You're going to see me struggle a little bit at first until I got the hang of things with these tweezers. And I think in the end, I probably just ended up using my fingers as they got bigger. But these small ones, there we go again. I did finally, I did finally get the hang of it. And, I did continue using the tweezers. I did finally get the hang of it and get myself in a little rhythm. And I didn't care if these were really completely coated, but they were coated pretty well. And so I got them all done, got them all in order, and then I'm going to take some Titebond Quick and Thick, surprise, surprise. And I'm going to just squirt a little bit out on my paper, use a paintbrush to put some glue on there so I have a little bit more control. I'm going to put my top piece where I want it so I can center it right there. And then I'm going to go on the bottom and start lining these stars up and just putting a little glue on the back of them and placing them where I want them to go. This is really super easy. It was really not that time consuming. I just had a YouTube video playing in the background and enjoyed the process. Now, my friend Leanne over at Simply Enjoying Crafting, and I did a collab back in the summer of Christmas in July, and we craft each other's stash, and she sent me these little embellishments, and so I'm using toilet paper rolls because we're going to make an adorable little craft. So you're just going to smash it down. You're going to draw yourself a little Christmas tree. I drew one, cut it out, and then I traced it off so I could make the other side the exact same way. And I'm just showing you how I drew them on there and then cut it out with my scissors, and then we're just going to cut on those lines. You can make them as skinny, as wide, as fat. Now, the best thing to do is, I made several of these, is to not cut those tips too close. Leave it a little wide so that it stays connected. You'll see in the end what I'm talking about. I ended up making this one where they weren't connected, and it works out okay, but they just work better if you leave them connected. So at the points of the tips is what I'm talking about. See where that is? I should not have cut all the way in there, just left that. You'll see when you see the other ones that I do. I only do one of these on camera because it's just repetitive and the same thing. But when I draw that out, when I cut this, okay, I'm going to cut in, and when I cut out right there, okay, when I go back in, I should have left a little more space so it stayed connected on the tips. I'm going back in with this Avery. It's been my favorite DIY paint for Christmas. I'm going to put one coat on here on both sides. I'm going to dry it up with my heat gun, and I'm doing both sides of this. I'm going to take Vintage Linen by DIY. I get my DIY paints from Sammy, www.unicorndustdesigns.com. She has all your IOD products, DIY products, a lot of awesome thrift finds. So go over there and check her channel out. Her website. You can check out her channel too if you don't know her. Okay, so this is what it looked like. And you can see I'm snipping those tips right there. See how I snipped those? Because some of them were connected, some of them were not. They were easy. I told you they were budget friendly. You let me know in the comments below if I told the truth. Hello, my name is Kendra. You are watching Late Night Creations. That name came about because I craft mostly late at night. I started that when my kids were little and I had to craft after they went to bed. So it stuck. Let's get back to crafting. I picked up this little package of ornaments at Hobby Lobby when they were half price. Wow, what a buy. There's 4 of them in a package, and they are really nice. So, yeah, these didn't work so great. So I ended up getting out my miter shears to cut these. So I want to have 3 different lengths. I want them to get smaller as they go up because you got it. We're going to make a Christmas tree. Now, this is probably one of the easiest, most simple DIYs you can make, and it turns out so cute. So you just want to glue them down on your ornament, or you could do it on a piece of scrap wood. You could do it on basically anything. You could have your kids do this on with paper on make a Christmas card, anything. So here we go. We're going to just glue them all down. I'm trying to kind of fluff it up. Be careful on the hot glue because it will melt these little branches. I put mine a little closer together than I wanted, but anyway, now I'm going to put a star on top. These are my varieties of stars I've collected from Amazon and Shein and Dollar Tree and a lot of different places. And I'm trying to decide exactly what I want to do with these stars. So I end up deciding on this one, and I'm going to try to find just the right size that I want. And that's the size. And I'm going to take my Queen Bee paint by DIY. I'm going to daub a little bit of that Queen Bee on there because it's a great color for a gold star. Then with the paint that's left over in there, I'm just going to daub a little bit around the edges of this ornament. I thought that would look cute, and it does. You could flock that greenery on there if you wanted to. I'm going to use a little Aleene's tacky glue. And I'm going to, or Aleene's, it's probably Aleene's because there's only one L. And then I'm going to take a few of these little pit berries off the vine, and I'm going to use my little handy dandy tweezers so I don't burn my fingers, and I'm going to hot glue them randomly in the tree. We can pretend they're ornaments, or we can just pretend they're berries on the tree. It's our world. We can pretend however we want. So here we go. Our aviary green paint by DIY. We're going to put a little in this dish. We're going to add a bunch of water. We're going to water it down. We're going to soak some of the canvas drop cloth that I love so much. I just cut a strip of it, and we are going to run it through here and soak it up. I just wanted to give this a little bit of color, and I didn't have any fabric dye or anything like that, so I thought, why can't we just paint it? So instead of painting it, I thought, well, with just some watered down paint, we could just soak that paint up in there, and let's see how this turns out. So I have some parchment paper. You could use wax paper. You could use an old trash bag, whatever. And I'm just putting it over there. It is really wet. I took it outside, laid it outside, and let it dry outside in the air. And this turns out beautiful. Now I'm going to just snip it on this end, and then I'm just going to rip strips. Just rip it. Just take out your frustrations and just rip you some strips. And there you go. Rip it. Rip it, rip it, rip it. And then I'm going to cut it in smaller little sections. We're going to make a Christmas tree. Imagine that. Another Christmas tree. I'm going to make them all about the same size. They don't have to be perfect, but we'll make them all about the same size. Then I got these, I think I got these cones, styrofoam cones, in a 4-pack at Hobby Lobby. I'm not quite sure, but you can find styrofoam cones just about anywhere this time of year. I'm going to paint it with, can you guess what color this is? Yep, Aviary by DIY. And you have to be careful using your heat gun on the styrofoam because it will melt it. So I got that coated with I did 2 coats of paint on there. And I'm going to take these strips, and the first one I do on each row, I'm going to tape it together to make a loop, and then tape the loop to the tree, just like you see me doing right there. And make sure the bottom of the loop is at the bottom of the tree. And then I'm going to just keep going all the way around the tree until I have a whole layer of them all the way around the bottom. The next one, I'm going to put the glue actually on the styrofoam. Lay it down there. Now I want the bottoms all to match up. The tops do not have to match up. So wherever I have to put that glue to make the bottoms match up is what's important. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's higher. But what matters is that the bottom loops match up, because you're going to have loops that come down over those tops on the next row. I'm going to dance with those strings a little bit. And you just keep going around and around and around the Christmas tree, just like this. And all those strings and the ragged edges are what makes this look rustic. And we like that. Okay, next we're going to kind of bricklay it. So we want our next one to go in between 2 of them. And again, we're going to make our little loop so we know exactly where it's going to lay. So same as we did the first one, and we want it to be in between those and to lay over about halfway through, down. See, that's not the right way to do it. We want it to go right there and to lay about halfway down. I'm not sure why I thought there was a front or a back to that, but apparently there was. Okay, right there. And then we're going to do the same thing we did on the bottom row. Just keep going all around until we get all the way around. That was intelligent talking right there. All the way around till we get all the way around. And we're going to do that all the way to the top. Not sure what I'm trying to tell you there, but I was trying to say something. So keep them close together so that you don't have gaps. And then here we are all the way to the top. Now we're at the very top and almost finished. And we are going to put a little star up there on the top because, you know, well, all the trees need a topper. You could put anything you wanted on the top. I just happened to have all those little stars, and that's kind of seems to be the theme of this video, is to have a tree with a star on the top. So we're gonna keep that. I'm going to melt a little indentation in the top of this with the tip of this hot glue, and then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue in that indentation. I'm going to make sure my star looks right first. Okay, it does. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in that indentation and then sit it down in there and hold it until that glue dries a little bit. It looks cute. Okay, the pitberry vine, you could leave this off if you don't like it. You can add it. You could add some little fairy lights, whatever. I just think this keeps it looking rustic. And all I had to do was really hot glue where it's started, because this I kind of just, you know, I wound it around there and then just tucked it. I may have been able to tuck that some way, but I just put a little hot glue in between one of those little loops and tucked it in there, and I Okay, I cut a triangle to resemble the shape of a Christmas tree out of just a piece of scrap cardboard as a template. And then I have these beautiful scrapbook papers that were gifted to me. Actually, I think I won them in some kind of scrapbook raffle basket years ago, and finally found the perfect project to use them in. So I'm trying to figure out which ones I want to use, and they're double-sided. This project is best if you use double-sided paper. Would you look at how beautiful those are? Okay, so these are the ones that I chose because I like them. I don't really know why I chose them. That's the ones I chose. So I'm going to trace this shape out onto the paper and cut it out. Easy peasy. I'm going to do that on each one of those pieces of scrapbook paper. Then I'm going to take some little skewers that are those little bamboo ones from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take the DIY dark wax and just stain them up a little bit. Now, I'm going to take those little triangles and we're going to accordion fold them. I have my little Cricut scraper. You could use a popsicle stick. You can use anything to crease it to make them nice and crisp. Your little folds nice and crisp. You want them all to be the same width. So just take your time carefully. I struggle with this sometimes, getting them even and straight, but I've sped this up, but I took my time and just really watched and made sure that I got them all even. Now I did one of them a little bit bigger. I think this was the first one I did was a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to take my Crop-A-Dile. This thing is great. You can punch holes. You can do, I don't even know what all you can do with it, quite honestly. I use it for a hole punch. And then yeah, I'm going to flip and flop everything around. Then I'm going to put that skewer through those holes. I was inspired by this by a picture I saw somewhere. It was on a blog I was reading, and she was doing some Christmas decorating, and she had these in a vignette, and they were so cute. So I'm going to use some Marquee by DIY and paint this little bead. And then I'm going to wipe off some of the paint because this is rustic, so I don't want it to look completely painted. You know, it's got to look a little rustic. I'm going to glue that bead to the top, and then we're going to move on to our other ones. I already folded them and got the little sticks in, and then I'm going to put a little star. I thought it would be cute, though, to put one on each side so they can be two-sided. So I'm going to glue the two little stars together, and that pointy end of the little stick is right at the bottom of that star. Okay, now if you had a longer, bigger one, you could use these little stump-looking things from Dollar Tree, and that would probably be okay with this one, but I have that piece of a spindle that I cut off and these little pieces of a tree branch from my yard that I cut. So that's what we're going to use for these. I'm just going to use a little bit of some Type Bond Quick and Thick to help stick them in there, and there we go. That's what they look like. I'll give it a thumbs up. Here I have a scrap piece of 2x6, 2x4, and some rice paper that I printed out. This free printable off of Canva. I believe I got that in Canva. And I'm going to take some vintage linen, and I'm going to use this sponge applicator brush and just give this one thin coat. I don't even care if I'm getting great coverage or not. Those two little pieces of wood were some of those little pieces of wood from, what are those things called? Help me out here. They're slices, wood slices from Dollar Tree. They come in a little package of several in a package. I've had those in my stash for a while. I'm just going to dry this up with my heat gun, and then I'm taking DIY wax, dark wax with a chippy brush, and I don't want a lot on the front where I'm going to put my image, but I want it to be more around the edges. I don't want this to look too clean. We're going for that rustic look. And then I'm going to put it a little bit more everywhere else. And then I'm going to let it dry pretty good. Sit and dry for a little while. And then I'm going to take a soft old t-shirt and buff it out. Now for the graphic, I'm going to take a paintbrush and some water. And this rice paper is a little bit more difficult to rip than, say, tissue paper or a napkin. So, but it's still easy. So I'm going to take that paintbrush and put some water on it. And it has these amazing fibers in here that make it look really rough on the edges. And I love it. So I'm just pulling that off so I can get the edge where I want it. And then I do that on the top too. So I lay it down and figure out where I want that. And I just fold it where I want it. And then I wet the crease. And then I can get that good and wet. Then I can just pinch and pull it where I want that to be. And then there it is. And it's got a ragged edge, which I love. Now I'm going to give this a good even coat of Mod Podge. Now I put my Mod Podge in that little squirt bottle because I've told you guys many times that I bought in 2018, I bought a gallon of Mod Podge and I'm still using that gallon. It has lasted me and lasted me. So I've got it in this little squirt bottle. Now that Mod Podge is completely dry, and I put my image on there, little piece of parchment paper, and my iron. You can use any iron as long as you don't use steam, and reactivate that glue. And this looks like it was made into the wood. It is perfection. It is awesome. So, and I'll kind of like loosening up those edges so they stay looking a little bit frayed. And I think this turned out so cute. Now I'm going to take this red kind of ticking ribbon. I got it Hobby Lobby on when they had their ribbon on half price. And I knew this would be great for Christmas. So I'm going to put it around the edge. I'm going to just put a little glue on the bottom there. And then I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to use my little silicone spatula so I don't burn my fingertips. And just wrap it around there. Put a little more glue on the bottom. Press it in. And cut it off. It's so funny to me that I use my pointer finger. I have it poking out a lot. I notice other crafters do the same thing. I don't know. When you craft, do you do that? Like, I've noticed other crafters that I watch do the same thing. You'll have to watch me now. Now you'll be watching me see if I do it. But I do. Now, I've got these on Shein as well. And they're little star beads. I thought they were really cute. They're this kind of weird, I don't know what they are. They're not wood. And they're not plastic. Maybe they are plastic. I don't know what they are. But anyway, they painted up just fine. So whatever they are, they're good. So I watered down some weathered wood and some marquee by DIY. And I'm just going to wet them and then kind of dry it off a little bit. In hindsight, I probably wish I would have just dry brushed it on there, but it turns out great. Either way. So I did 3 red and 3 brown, I believe. So I'm just showing you that I just painted on there. The sides, the paint didn't take as well on the sides as it did the tops, but it's okay. It still you don't see the sides as much as you see the top anyway. So it turns out really cute. So I was trying to decide where I was going to put these. I did string them up. I'm not sure what I show you first. I put some tape on the end of some twine. Yes, and made kind of like a needle so I could string them up. So I did them every other one, did a little pattern, and thought that I was going to put them on the end instead of ribbon on the other end. That's why I don't have ribbon on the other end of that little piece of wood right now. I thought that I was going to put those like that. See, I almost did. And then I thought, oh, let's see if it looks cute as a garland around the top or if it looks better like that. I was really debating. And so in the end, I decided to put them up at the top like a garland. So I just ran the string under those ribbons and around the back and put a little hot glue here and there to hold it. Got it like I liked it. I really wanted it to kind of swag down a little bit. And then so this sort of, in my mind, represented the stars on top of the trees. And then I'm going to use those little wood slices. They're really thick wood slices, but anyway, I do not know why I tied this on the back. Don't ask me why I do the things I do sometimes. I think I was thinking I needed a hanger. And that wouldn't really act as a hanger anyway. I don't know what I was thinking. And then I glued it down back on the back side. I don't know. You know, who knows? And then I end up cutting it off anyway. It's not a hanger. It's going to be a sitter. It's going to have legs on it. So I don't even know what I was thinking. I wasn't even crafting late at night this day, so I can't even use that as an excuse. This was on my day off on a Wednesday afternoon, and I did have a migraine that day. But anyway, it's okay. So now we're going to take those little, I'm going to call them little log slices, and use a little bit of our Titebond and a little bit of hot glue, and put them, they're not the same size around, but they're the same height. And so I didn't mind that look at all. It helps with the rustic look. And I thought that it made it look like they were the legs or the trunks of the trees. I got from Dollar Tree, and it came in the nautical section. And I have some more of this canvas drop cloth. It goes on and on and on. It's the gift that never stops giving. It lasts forever. I've made tons of projects with it. Very well worth the money spent. So I'm going to lay it down in here. It's very forgiving, like it's a little bit stretchy. And so I'm just laying it in there, holding it down with my hand, using my pencil to draw a line where I want to cut. And then I just cut on those lines. Cut it out because we are going to Mod Podge it into that center. This is probably my favorite DIY of this video. And this was Pinterest inspired. I'm not really a Pinterest go-to girl. I'm a Google girl. But a lot of the images off Pinterest show up on Google. So I will link this website where this came from in the description box below, because I like to give credit where credit is due. So she did hers on reverse canvas and did it in a little bit different frame, and hers looks a little different than mine, but I would like to give credit for my inspiration. Mine was a little bit short on the edges, but I'm telling you, you can stretch it out a little bit and it turned out great. Okay, Sawmill Gravy by Dixie Belle. This was my first time using Dixie Belle paint. Not my first time, but this is my first batch of Dixie Belle paint. I will definitely be getting some more of this from my new friend that I met at the antique mall here locally. I love when I can get it local and don't have to pay for shipping. Okay, Dark Wax by DIY. This stuff is great. So I'm going to dry brush this. Use a dry brush method, sort of dry brush it, just around the edges to give it that little bit of aged look. Just kind of on the edges where it would look like it was a little dirty or worn. And, you know, do as much or as little as you like. Some people like a lot of it. I still like to be able to see that original color through there. And then I'm going to do a little bit on that canvas too. Now, I'm using it on these little tiny wooden stars that I got in a huge package at, I want to say Walmart during the holidays. And then I'm going to dry brush that white over it. I did some pumpkins in a previous video with this method, and it might be my new favorite method to stain it and then dry brush over. I don't know. I'm just loving this look right now. Okay, Spanish moss. You can get it at Dollar Tree. You can get it at Walmart, any hobby store. And I'm making a mess with it. I'm telling you, I made a huge mess with this. Okay, I'm going to hot glue. I'm going to make a Christmas tree on here. And I'm going to just take it and shape it. Use hot glue, shape it. And I'm warning you, you're going to burn your fingers if you're not careful. So I should have had those little silicone protectors on every finger. So yeah, instead of trying to pull it apart, I just cut it. I just wadded it up, shaped it with my fingers. And I kept thinking, this is not going to look like a Christmas tree. What am I doing? Why is mine not looking like the picture, the inspiration picture? But then when I finished and I stepped away and looked, I was like, it looks like a Christmas tree. Yay. So anyway, just if you want to do this, it is so easy. I'm telling you, this is probably, I don't know, all of these DIYs were super easy except that Noel hanging thing that would have been easy if I would have just let it dry overnight. I'm telling you, learn from my mistakes. Okay, see, it's starting to look like a Christmas tree. I just keep shaping it and picking it and poking it. Telling you, I'm a picker and a poker. And for some reason, I didn't really show you that I glued those on there. I stuck some little of those glue sticky tabs in between to give it some dimension. Oh, and I put a cinnamon stick at the bottom for the trunk. Hello friends, it's time for the 5th Sunday Craft with Friends. All three of us will have 2 of these triangles, all identical, wood, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with mine. I'm going to add some spindles, surprise, surprise, and a little wood round to both of mine. One of them will have that set up and the other one will have this set up. The first one I'm going to use some aged gray paint by Rust-Oleum, and I'm going to paint the entire thing. And I used a little bit of Old School by DIY, and I just dusted the edges with it. And I didn't paint the backside because we're going to cover it up. I'm going to use IOD Winter Adornment stamp with some black ink, and I just chose this beautiful Christmas floral from this collection. I'm just going to ink it up with the black ink and put it on my Christmas tree. I'm going to make Christmas trees. What else would we make with triangles? I'm really excited to see what the other girls are going to make with the triangles. Fivey texted me and said, really, how can we all make these different? We all know what we're going to make with them. And I said, oh, just be creative. But we'll see if someone does something different besides a Christmas tree. This time of year, anytime we see a triangle, it just becomes a Christmas tree. So I just filled in all the spaces with that beautiful stamp. Then I'm going to be diligent to clean my stamps with a wet wipe and dry it off before I put it away because they are pricey and I want to take care of it. Now, I bought this old cable knit sweater at the thrift store because this is my decor for Christmas. I use sweater to make it look wintry, and I have some sleds and some ice skates, and so I thought this would look cute on one of these trees. I also have in my entryway a variety of Christmas trees in all different designs, and they're not even all the same, what do you call it, genre of decor. But they're on my entryway table at Christmas, and I just love it. It's very eclectic. So I'll be adding these to that. Okay, so I'm going to just glue this sweater loosely. I'm not going to pull it tightly because I want it to, I want it to look loose and like the tree is wearing a sweater. Okay, your girl is a dork. Yes, I am. Okay, then I'm just going to trim the excess off. I'm going to try to find the right pair of scissors. I got these little ones because they were a little bit, the blades were a little smaller. I could get a little closer, but I guess some of that hot glue seeped out and it was a little difficult. So I kept switching back and forth with my scissors until I just got it all trimmed off, and it worked great. And then I took a little hot glue and put it back in the edges so it wouldn't fray, and make sure it was all glued down nice and tightly. And this one turned out so cute. Now for the stand, I'm going to use that same little, oh wait, I'm going to stamp the sides. I'll show you just one side that I'm going to use that same stamp, just little pieces of it to stamp down the sides. I guess I'm really showing you how I'm repairing those edges. Here we go. Now the sides needed something. So I'm going to take that stamp and just little pieces of it. I'm going to just put a little bit of that stamp on the sides. I now did both sides. There we go. And I did seal this with clear wax. I don't know if I got that on camera. I don't remember. But I did clear it with, I sealed it with clear wax. Now I'm going to use my little dowel rod method and make a hole in the spindle. That's what that thing's called. And a hole in the bottom of my tree. And the same thing with the wood round. Actually, I think I may have just glued the wood round and the dowel. I can't remember. But there we go. We made our little stand. Then I decided the tree needed something. Well, I thought I wanted it to have something. So I tried these little pit berries, and it just wasn't happening for me. I tried it. No, didn't happen. I thought, well, I'll take some twine. This looks kind of rustic, and I'll just wrap some twine around it to make it look, you know, nah, that wasn't working for me either. Couldn't make it happen. So I ended up wrapping that around the base of the triangle, where the triangle and the spindle meet. And I didn't do anything to the spindle. When I cut the spindle, I sanded it down a little bit to, you know, kind of get all the old dirt and grime off of it and washed it up. And that's all I did to that little piece of a chair leg. And I'm going to just wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap that twine around there until I get it as thick as I want it. And then I just glued it a little bit with the hot glue. Then I thought, well, I'm going to put a twine bow. I made a little finger bow. And I was like, well, I put it at the top. Do I put it in the middle? Do I put it at the base of the tree? Nope, wasn't feeling that either. I'm just showing y'all how real it is when we create. You know, we just edit and show you the good parts. But I did find this ribbon that I had from Joann's, and it's kind of a gray burlap ribbon. And so I thought it was perfect. So here you see me making a finger bow. I like to make finger bows because both of the tails end up coming out the same way. When I make awareness bows, I love to make them because they're so simple, but both of my little tails don't come out the same way, and it drives me crazy. So I find that this makes the cutest little bow, and it's so simple. So I'm going to put a little hot glue there and glue my bow down. And voila, look how pretty. But then I decided the other side needed a bow too. So I made a tiny little twine bow and put it in the same place. And this tree is finished. I'm going to reveal both of them at the same time at the end. Now the next one, I'm going to take weathered wood and watered down just a little bit and a sponge. And I'm going to just wipe it on there really good. And then let it dry. Let it dry completely. Maybe I wiped some of it back. I can't remember. Let's see if I show you. If I didn't show you, then maybe I didn't. But I did both sides. Both sides are going to be stained wood. I don't think I did. I think I just dried it down. So I'm using my heat gun to dry it, and then I let it air dry a little bit while I do some other things so that it's nice and dry for my next step. I did put a little weathered wood on that wood round, and I decided I didn't like it, so I just put some white wax on both sides of that little wood round. I'm going to use some Big Top to seal in this side of my little wood tree, and I'm going to use this IOD transfer that is absolutely gorgeous. It's from the last year's Christmas collection, and I think it's the Candy Cane Cottage collection. And I get all of my IOD and DIY I get all of my IOD DIY and Saltwash products from Sammy over at unicorndustdesigns.com. Please go check out her website. It's always linked in my description box below. You can just go down there, hit the link, and it'll take you right to her website. She is also one of my friends in this collab today. You do not want to miss. I cannot wait to see what she is going to do with these little wooden triangles and the other items that we have to recreate. Now, I'm going to take some of this wood that I got from my friend's house, Myra, from over at Farm Fresh Design 59. I went to visit her in North Carolina back in September, and we picked up some wood off the ground, and we took a few pieces off the tree, but the tree was not harmed. It still had plenty of bark. It's like giving someone a haircut. It grows back. And then I'm just going to glue all this down. Now, my friend Favi, you know, she is also in this collab. I know both of them personally. We talk on Marco Polo almost daily, and we have just really gotten to know each other, and I love these gals with all my heart. I feel like, I'm old enough to be their mom, but they still want to hang out with me. I love it. And so I can't wait to see how creative they got with these items or how simple they kept it. You know, all creations do not have to be elaborate. Simple creations are just as beautiful as elaborate ones. So I decided to wrap a little bit of twine around a couple places on that spindle. I didn't want to make this video 2 hours long, so I just went ahead and wrapped it. You saw me wrap it on the other one, so you don't need instructions on how to wrap twine around a spindle. So I did that, and then I just took a few little scraps of canvas drop cloth, and I'm just making a little shabby bow to put on this tree. Now, one of the items that we are required to use are mini pine cones. So I'm just going to glue my little mini pine cones in the center of my bow because, well, I thought it was fitting that the pine cones went with the tree. This was not a pine tree that this bark came off of, but we don't care, do we? I think this turned out adorable. Now I'm just going to fray the edges of that bow just a little bit, and here are the finished trees. Two-sided. Do you like two-sided projects? Let me know that in the comments below. The next item that we were to use was the Oak Christmas Tree Mold by IOD. And so there's a Christmas tree, and there's little border pieces, and there's a star. And then I have this block of wood that was a piece of a cabinet door that I cut down. And I'm just going to use some scrap wood and some crushed velvet material, some white paint, and some black paint. I'm going to paint the piece of wood black, the back side, and all four sides. And the little block that I'm going to use to help the piece of wood stand up. And then we are going to wax it with clear wax to seal that black paint. And I'm telling you, it is just beautiful. And then I'm going to take my velvet, and I'm going to act like I'm wrapping a present, but I'm not going to wrap it all the way around the back. I'm just going to use that same kind of method to wrap. I'm going to make sure that it fits good. I'm going to put some Type Bond Quick and Thick on the front. This is the front. This is the raw wood that I did not paint. And I'm going to lay it down on the back side of the fabric. Then I'm just going to press it really good and wipe it down really good where that glue soaks into the fabric. I could actually feel it be a little bit moist in there. And that's what I wanted. And then now I'm going to just wrap this around and secure it down. It really wanted to roll up on me, so it was a little bit of a struggle on that end, but this was very easy. Just rolled it around, wrapped it down, and hot glued it. And then I took my staple gun and put some staples. Make sure that I'm using it right. The staple gun is a little odd where the staples come out. It feels like they should come out the other end. Stapled them down, making this very secure. And I'll do that on all four sides. I'm going to take a white linen by Rust-Oleum and a chippy brush, and I'm just going to pounce all that white paint in all of the little crevices and the nooks and the crannies on this Christmas tree. This Christmas tree is so beautiful. It's thin. You can see here it's thin. I'm going to make sure I get the edges painted, and I do all of the pieces. I did 4 of the edge pieces with that. Now, I tried this acrylic metallic paint, and I was going to just dry brush it over the top and then use a little bit of that rub and buff, but I did not like how this was working. I tried it, and it wasn't shiny enough. It wasn't, I don't know, something just wasn't right about it. I did not like it. So I got the rub and buff and just used my finger. Oh, first I wanted to do the star. I did have intentions the entire time to do the star completely silver. So I did paint it white because this resin that I was using, I don't know if it was kind of old or what, but it turned very yellow. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I'm going to use the rub and buff all over this with my finger, just rubbing it gently. And it took a little while because this is a big piece, but I just worked it around and hit it so you could see, like, there's ornaments, there's branches, they're not leaves. What are they on a pine tree? Needles. There's needles. And these turned out beautiful. I did all the pieces. I'm just showing you that I did the tree and this little edge piece. And the berries just popped, and you could see the little tiny branches in there. It just turned out beautiful. It's just shining. Shiny things, like we should let our light shine for Jesus. If Jesus has done something for you, you should let your light shine for him. Even if he hasn't done, oh, he has done something for you. You just haven't looked hard enough. He died on the cross for you, for number 1. So we should let our light shine like that star there. The star that led the shepherds to the birth of Jesus. Well, I had this beautiful shiny, speaking of shine, I had this beautiful shiny glittery ribbon that I thought looked beautiful against that black fabric. I was trying to find some way to use it, and I thought, well, I'll just put it across the middle where those two don't meet, those 2 border pieces don't meet, and then I'll just lay the tree on top of it. Well, I didn't like that either. I had a lot of experimental in this video. I'm showing you a lot of my experimental. I do this all the time, but I'm just leaving a lot of that footage in for you today. You're welcome. And then I measured to find the center because I want my star right in the center. And then I just glued it down with a little hot glue. And this hot glue is going to hold these resin pieces right to this fabric really good. And I just use the Fabricast resin, where you mix equal parts of A and B together and pour it in the mold, and it sets up super quick. And I'm just using, hot glue to adhere it to this piece, and it turns out so pretty. And this is one of those simple but elegant, beautiful decor pieces for Christmas. Simple to make. I love it. Let me know what you think about this one. I cannot wait to see what the other girls did with their Christmas tree mold. Hello friends, and welcome to Late Night Creations. Today we are going to do some more beautiful rustic wood Christmas DIYs. Let's get crafting. Okay, here we have some scrap wood from an old fence, some old fencing that I took over to my scroll saw and I cut it into a triangle. We are going to make a tree. I'm not using my regular miter saw out in the shop because we still have not replaced the parts that got broken when I had my little accident a few weeks ago. It is coming in the mail though. So I am also going to use the pieces that I cut off. I did that a couple weeks ago in a video to show you how you can use the 2 pieces that I cut off the sides. So we're going to dry brush one with Aviary by DIY and one with some white chalk paint. This is the Rust-Oleum white. I'm still using up that whole quart that I've had in my stash, so I'm going to use that up before I open my new DIY that came in the mail. Okay, so I'm just going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick and some hot glue to glue these two pieces together, so that out of that one piece of wood we can get two trees instead of just one and throwing away the scraps. We don't throw away scraps around here. Now, this was the same board from the same piece of wood, and it was not the same thickness. So I'm going to use a couple of these little tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree to make a little base to keep it from falling over. So we're going to just glue those right to the base in the back. And I did use a little bit of dark wax on those. Okay, now I have this Rusty Crusty Tin Star in my stash. I got a big bag of those at Goodwill a couple years ago, actually, like around 4th of July. And I'm just going to put some dark wax on it because I didn't like how orange it was. And there is not enough flat space to be able to adhere this to the top of my tree. So that little round piece of wood is one of the pieces that I pop off the bottom of those little bottle brush trees. When we put the bottle brush trees in a spool or a vase or whatever. So I'm going to use that to put this star on. And then I used the super glue from Dollar Tree to adhere the metal piece. Okay, let's finish up the green one. Let's make a star to go on top. I did dark wax that green tree with some DIY dark wax. And now I'm just taking some white paint and I'm sponging it all over this star I don't know why I used a sponge to sponge it. I just did. Once it was completely dry, I took some weathered wood by DIY and I sparsely sponged it on there. I didn't want a full coat. I had something that I thought was going to work great, but it did not. I wanted to do the crackle, and I watered the glue down. I do not know why I watered that glue down. Should not have, but I did. And then I painted it all over the star, and then I decided I was going to sponge the white back on. Well, it did not work. I don't know if it's because I watered the glue down or because I sponged the paint on. Either way, it didn't work, but that's okay. I dried it with my heat gun, and then I took some of that glue and I sponged that glue sporadically all over, sporadically on it, not all over. And I took some cinnamon, just some ground cinnamon, and I sprinkled it on there, and then I'm tapping it off, and I'm going to dry that with my heat gun a little bit, and it almost melted it a little bit because I put it on there for quite a little bit. And it kind of melted it a little bit, which kind of made it look more like rust. Now I'm going to take Mod Podge. I'm going to sponge the Mod Podge all over to seal that cinnamon in. And I'm telling you, my crab cottage was smelling like we were cooking something out there with the heat gun and that cinnamon. Yep. Anyway, it just made it look a little bit rusty crusty. Not really exactly what I had envisioned, but I ended up liking it. Now we're going to glue it to the top of our tree with a little twine bow. And then I decided I wanted to bring a little Jesus to it. Because you know I love to put a little Jesus in my DIYs. Well, we're going to put a couple blocks on the bottom first for stability. So I got my scrapbook paper out that I used last week, and I took a little piece of the manger scene, and we're just going to make a little tag. We're going to do the iron-on method, Mod Podge, let it dry completely, iron it on with no steam. You can use your household iron. You could use probably could use a flat iron if you had something this small. Who knows? I wanted to get those edges really good, so I used that piece of scrap wood so that I could go around the edges because this piece was so small, I was afraid I was going to burn myself. So I took my X-Acto knife and I trimmed the edges. I poked a pencil through that hole. I used my twine to adhere.
I just wrapped it around the top there. I did use a little hot glue to keep that twine from sliding down, and then I just tied a little knot. I contemplated putting a couple of little beads on there. I think if I were going to, I would have painted them or done something to them and not left them raw, but I wasn't feeling the best, and I was trying to make these as simple and cute as I could. So I had a little half bead, the little split beads. So I just took that dark wax and waxed it over. I put a little dark wax around the tag, and then I glued that little half bead to that tag and called it done. And I think it turned out really cute. Let me know what you think about this one. Would you have left the tag off and not done it? Would you have added beads to this one?
Welcome to Late Night Creations. My name is Kendra, and I'm so glad you're here. Today I have 5 rustic Christmas DIYs that I made with things from my stash or things from my yard. So I can't wait for you to see them. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment and let me know which one was your favorite. I hope that you are inspired to get up and make some Christmas DIYs today. Let's get on with the crafting.
Okay, this first DIY is so fun. I just drew a little triangle Christmas shape, and I'm going to use this scrap wood that my mom and I dug out of a dumpster behind a cabinet shop. I'm going to have to show that video one of these days. My husband videotaped us, but I'm just showing you that I don't care if the shape is perfectly square or the sides are even, because I love all the character that this piece of wood had. So I taped down my drawing onto my wood, and now I'm going to nail nails. Not on camera because you see how it shakes my table and it makes my camera shake. But I'm just going to show you how I did this. So I thought that I was going to be smart and just eyeball how far apart I should put my little dots, where I should put my nails. But then I thought maybe I should use a ruler. And I did the first 2 pretty good, 1/2 inch apart. And that wasn't quite exactly 1/2 inch there, but it's not going to matter in the end. So I'm going to hammer all these in. These are 1-inch nails, and I'm going to hammer them all in the same, where they're the same length. Now, part of this wood is super hard. This is really good quality wood. It was from a cabinet shop. And so this little part, I think where that knot was, is really hard. And so when I tried to hammer those nails in, they bent a little bit. And this one just popped right off. So I'm going to leave those 2 little crooked ones in there. I tried to straighten them up with my pliers, and I couldn't get that little scrap piece out, so I just nailed a little nail right next to it, and you're not even going to be able to tell. So then you're just going to pull your paper off and leave it with your design with the nails. Now I'm going to use this thin cotton yarn from Dollar Tree. You can use embroidery floss. You can use some any kind of thin yarn. You can use some fatter yarn, but it's a little more difficult. So the trick to this, you're going to tie a knot. Did you see me tie that knot? Okay. So the trick to this is keeping it taut, to not let go and don't let loose. So I thought I was going to be able to do this just with my fingers. I was going to try my tweezers. I tried using the other end of my tweezers, and then I stopped and I got, well, I'm not even showing you what I got, but anyway, I did the same thing. Oh, there's my little skewer that I got with the pointy end. It works fantastic. So you're just wrapping it around each one of those, and I'm keeping it down close to the wood because this is the first outline. There are so many different ways that you can do this. This is such a fun thing to do. So I did it, so I got it all the way around the outside. So now I'm going to go back and forth, just in a zigzag fashion, until I get to the very bottom. And then I'm going to go zigzag the opposite way all the way back to the top. You can do this however you want to. You can go from the top to the bottom, sideways. Sometimes I will fill the whole thing in, just back and forth all over it. But that was not the look I was going for this time. Okay, so now we're going to outline it, and we're going to keep the thread up close to the top of the head of the nail. So it's going to look like it's outlined at the bottom and it's outlined at the top. Now, oh no, I'm going back up. Sorry. I'm ahead of myself. I've already told you what I was doing, so I thought I was ahead of myself. Okay, so, oh, see, I let go. I didn't keep it taut, and I lost my footing, or my yarn, whatever. Anyway, okay, so here we go. Now we're moving. It's just the same thing. Let's see if this is where, oh, I'm going back down. I wanted it to be a little thicker. And like I said, you could go and make different designs. This is just what I wanted to do. Okay, here's where I'm going back around to make the outline at the top. It just kind of finishes it off a little bit. Just going. Okay, you will notice that when I'm doing the outline is I wrap it around the nails. When I was going back and forth, I wasn't wrapping it completely around the nails. I just looped it around, if that makes sense. I think you could see what I'm doing. But whatever, your design asks you to do. So here I'm just going to tie a little knot around that last nail, and I'm kind of use my little skewer or my tweezers sometimes to help me with that. Now where I cut it off, it left a little frayed edge, and I was afraid that would come undone. So I just dab a little bit of super glue on the edges of that little frayed ribbon. Now I'm just using some cotton twine. I'm pretty sure I picked this up at Walmart years ago, and I've been using it forever. And I did the base of the tree with that cotton twine. Just whatever design you want to do. And then I have this in my stash. This I got them off Amazon. There was like 500 of these little stars in that package, and so I decided to glue that little star on top. I think this turned out adorable. I absolutely love doing string art. It's so easy once you get the hang of it, so you need to try it. And if you try any projects that you get inspired by something that I do, please email me pictures. I love to see what you're creating. Now, I just took a branch off of a bushy tree we have in our yard, and I sliced them with my miter saw and tried to make them all about the same width. Now I'm just taking some moss green paint by Waverly, and I'm painting the frame of this little shadow box-ish thing I got at Dollar Tree back when they were selling all the nautical stuff. They may still have these, I don't know. Now I'm going to put these in the shape of a tree, but I didn't like that there wasn't enough contrast, so I'm going to take some DIY dark wax. You could use some watered down paint. You could use some antique wax by Waverly, or just take a paint and water it down just a wee bit and just wipe it on and wipe it off. Now where they had glued the frame together, it didn't stain very well, but that's okay. I don't mind. It makes it look more rustic. So I'm just going to kind of place these and see where I want them. And I wanted that top one to be kind of oblong up and down. And then I'm going to take a twig. And I think I may have gotten this pack of twigs. I finally found some at Dollar Tree. My Dollar Tree never had any. I found them at another Dollar Tree somewhere else. I'm not showing you that part yet. Yeah, my glue was... I keep it stored upside down so that it's not so hard to get this thick wood glue to come out. And this super glue wood glue is amazing. It really is a good hold. But I'm going to do a little bit of hot glue on there just so it'll hold quickly, and I don't have to wait for it to dry and they don't move around. So just so long as the hot glue and the wood glue don't touch, then we're good to go. And so very quickly I'm going to get these all glued down, and I'm in love with the look of this tree, guys. I just love it. Anyway, So yeah, and don't mind if you see little gnats and bugs flying around, because I live in the country and my craft cottage is outside my gate, and they just come in with the lights in the evening. So that little twig I glued down, and then now I'm going to put some of this thicker twine. I'm pretty sure I got this at Walmart, and I'm going to tie a knot on the front because I like that look. I think it looks rustic. And just make the knot big enough. If you have to double knot it, then do that, but make it big enough so it doesn't pull through. And then just snip that off. And you could put a little drop, whatever, of super glue in there too if you didn't want that to fray and unravel, but I felt like it was in there pretty good. Okay, there's the hanger. Then I decided it needed a little twine bow on top. The tree needed a topper. So I just put that little twine bow up there on the top, and oh my gosh, this was so simple, so easy, so cheap. Really the only thing I had to pay for was the frame. Everything else was just scraps or in my yard. So let me know what you think about that one. Okay, this next one also, I had gotten a pack of 4 of these at Hobby Lobby. I don't remember how much they were, but I do remember that they came out to be about a little over $1 a piece, and this was like maybe the second or to the smallest size. I can't remember. So I was going to put some paint on it that's about the same color as it was, just because I don't know, I felt like it would look more finished, and so I gave it just a thin coat. I wasn't even looking for like some coverage because it's very close to the same color, and so that's what I did. I did it front, back, on the inside. To me, it just made it, I could have left it, but it just made it look a little bit more finished, even though it's going to be a very rustic DIY. Then I took some antique wax and just kind of dry brushed the edges because, it was a little too clean. And then I put a few streaks in the center. Then I took my little scrap of t-shirt fabric. Any kind of soft fabric would work. Paper towels don't work very good because they kind of fall apart. And then I took a little clear wax from DIY and sealed it. And in the end, I don't know if I got it on camera. I think I might have not gotten on camera that I also, in the very end, I used a little bit of dark wax on the frame. I'm not sure if I show that or not. But anyway, so I tried several different things to cut these twigs. These were still kind of green, and so they were a little harder to cut. But the miter shears, which usually are very hard for me to cut with, worked the best of everything that I had. So I just laid them out and just kept cutting each one just a wee bit shorter and a wee bit shorter and a wee bit shorter until I had a Christmas tree shape. This was actually really fun. Really enjoyed making this. And so then I took another one of those little round wood discs and a little tiny pine cone. So I'm just going to glue everything down using the wood glue and the hot glue again. Use them together, but don't overlap them because the hot glue just acts weird when it touches the wood glue or the whatever liquid glue. So I'm not sure if I'm going to show you every single bit of this or not. I can't remember. But this is so super easy. And guys, if you don't have trees or whatever, just go to the park. And I had to kind of snip those little, where the leaves were. There were some leaves on there that I had pulled off. Okay, so if you don't have a tree in your yard or a bush or something that you can do this, just go to the park and pick up sticks in the park. If you have kids, it would be a great thing for them to do, help you do, is find sticks. It would be a nice little adventure. And then they would feel like they had a part in your DIY. And this actually would be a good DIY craft for kids too. They would have fun doing this. And you could just do it on a piece of scrap wood, let them paint it, and they could have a little decoration for their bedroom. And kids love that. They love to make things for their room. So here I am showing you the dark wax. So I just put it a little bit on my t-shirt and then just put it on there a little bit. Okay, so I had this little block of wood in my stash that I had cut off of some spindles that I'm going to do a project with in a couple weeks. And it was just a piece of scrap. And I wanted this to stand up. You don't have to make yours stand up if you don't want to. You could totally put a hanger on it. But I wanted this to stand up. And so I put some glue on this little block of wood. I painted it the same color as the frame. And so you can see that. And then I decided it needed a twine bow. I couldn't decide where to put it. That was kind of just awkward sitting up there by itself. So I just wrapped some twine around the top. I wasn't really thinking this was going to look that great. And I was like, well, it needs something up there. So this is what I'm going to do. So and here I go picking and poking again. I do edit a lot of my picking and poking out for and save you guys from having to watch me do that. So I did make a smaller bow than that original one that I showed you. And voila. Oh, I'm in love with it. I think it is so cute. It's so rustic. I love it. Okay, here's the last one. Maybe my favorite. Oh, this is not the last one. There's another one. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, this might be my favorite. I don't know. I can't pick a favorite of these. I loved them all. They were so very fun. Okay, this little round piece is some of those that Dollar Tree has. Now, my Dollar Tree didn't have them forever, and I'm not even sure if I got this at my Dollar Tree, or I've been visiting a lot of other Dollar Trees. Anytime we go on a trip or we go out of town, we see a Dollar Tree, we stop, because I'm looking for things that my Dollar Tree doesn't carry. So I just drilled a little hole in the little base, and now I'm drilling a little hole in each one of these sticks, and I cut them with the same theory as I did that last project. Now this is some dead dry branches that I had cut off, and well, they were dead ones. They were dead branches on the tree. That's not. It's like almost like a crepe myrtle, but not. I'll stick a little glue in this. I drilled a hole in that too, and I'm just going to stick a little glue in there so it'll stay. That's going to be our top. I had seen this. My inspiration was a 6-foot tree like this made out of driftwood. Oh my goodness, it is so gorgeous. But it was 6 foot tall. So I'm making a mini version with just twigs out of my yard. And oh my gosh, y'all, this turns out so cute. So you can make this, just go pick up some sticks. And if you have a drill some holes. Or you might be able to even just use a nail, a big nail, and drill, hammer a nail through, and then just maybe use some yarn or something to put through there. And yeah, I don't know how you would make it stick in the. I mean, I have to think about that one for a minute. But everybody needs a drill. Everybody needs a drill. So there you go. How easy was that, and how simple was that, and how cute is that? Okay, same as the first one. Same concept, but I'm using this little wood round. Now, I bought some of these on Amazon, but this was some that a friend used for decor at a shower, and she was going to throw them away. Can you believe that? That is just craziness. So I said, do not throw those away. I will absolutely use those. So I'm going to make a little ornament out of this. So I'm not going to hammer them because you see, I'm going to hammer my fingers. So I'm going to use my little needle nose pliers, and I'm going to hammer them in off camera because see how it shakes my table. So I'm going to hammer in. I'm going to make sure that it doesn't go all the way through my wood, and then just do the design. Now I'm keeping the design over there to my left, so in case I forget, what it looks like, because the nails sometimes when you get them on there can be kind of confusing. So I'm going to start at the top, and it's very similar to the last one, just a different design. So you can fast forward through this part if you already know how to do string art, but this one was a little bit more challenging. I had to kind of think about what I was doing when I was doing it. So I just wrapped it. I'm not even going to try to explain this because it kept falling off. I kept losing my string because I wasn't keeping it tight enough. But so it's just a different design. So I'm wrapping it around and around and just you have to kind of figure out, you know, where you want your strings to show and how you're going to get back up to the top or the bottom, or, you know, how am I going to get where I'm going and make it look. And sometimes I have to undo and redo, and it's hard to keep it tight. Well, see, there, I lost it again. Keep it tight while you're trying to figure it all out. And so that's where that little stick comes in handy, because you can kind of hold it down and help guide it along. You might be able to do it with just your fingers, but I can't. My fingers are just too fat, and I do have a little arthritis in a couple of my fingers joints, and so they don't bend as good as they used to. So there we go. So there's the tree part. So this is where I'm going to tie the knot at the top. Just leave a little loop to pull it through. Get my little tweezers, pull that string through there, tighten the knot. I think I double knotted it. I just didn't show that. I'm going to do that super glue thing again. If you let that super glue sit on there for just a few seconds, it'll get soft, and then you can just slick it down on there. Okay, and then I used a different color to do the base, and I just did a square and then an X across. I mean, just do it however you like, whatever design you want to do. And you can find all kinds of these designs on, if you Google it. Okay, I drilled a hole, and I've got a little, what are those called? Eye hooks. And it's not really a hook, it's a solid top to make an ornament.
Hello friends, today I am joining Natalie from Sparks of Joy Studio in her Thrift Flip Challenge. So we sent each other a box of thrifted items, and we are supposed to flip them. Okay, the challenge in this Thrift Flip Challenge today is, you ready for it? We're supposed to use IOD products. Great, but we're supposed to do Christmas flips, but not use IOD Christmas themed. Like, we have to use regular everyday IOD stamps, molds, transfers, inlays, etc., and make them look Christmas. Challenge accepted, except it was a little harder than I expected. Let's get crafting.
Okay, now for this little apple planter, whatever you want to call it. I thought that the scissors that I have might cut through it, because they usually will cut through some thin wood, but nope, they weren't going to. So I started just scoring it with my X-Acto knife, and that wasn't cutting it. Haha, pun intended. So I got my box knife out because it's a little sturdier and durable, and I scored it, and I really was being very careful because I really have a very healthy fear of power tools and sharp things, because I do not want to cut myself. So I did that on both sides of the top. Then I took my little finger sander and sanded it down nice and smooth so there weren't any splinters, and I did the same thing to the bottom. Now I'm taking a white, I believe it's called white linen, by the JRV Cottage Colors, DIY, and Jamie Ray Vintage, not collided, that doesn't sound very nice. They got together and made these paints that have a built-in top coat, built-in primer, and I wanted to try it with the paint inlays. So I gave it 2 coats of paint, and then I'm going to use a regular paint inlay that came out in the spring. Now I used the Delft Traditions Noir, which is the black one. I used the blue one in last week's video. This is not a Christmas inlay. So you can use your regular inlays and make it look Christmas, because I think deer look really pretty in Christmas decor. Now I got a little too much water on it, but that's okay. And then I slung a little water on there, so I ended up taking my little napkin and just dotting it off, and then Well, then I decided I had to smooth it out with my paintbrush. Okay, so I'm not sure why I left all that footage in for you, but there you go. It's all free. Now, I'm going to lay that paint inlay on there ever so gently, putting it right where I want it. I'm going to tap, tap, tap it. It's wet. Remember, we sprayed it with some water, and the paint is still wet underneath it where we put that layer of paint down. We are pressing that paint inlay into the painted side. Now, I've let it dry for several hours. It is completely dry, and I'm going to very lightly mist it, and I'm going to wait about 3 minutes for it to get moist enough for me to peel back that inlay. And I'm going to just blot off all the excess water, and then I like to use my little tweezers and just peel up the edge so I can get a hold of it. And I want you to look at how beautiful these paint inlays are. I mean, it is just beautiful. I'm in love with it. Then I didn't have any gold rub and buff because you all know I'm a silver girl, not a gold girl. So I had some gold metallic paint, and I really had the idea that I was going to dry brush, but it didn't dry brush real well. So what I ended up doing was dry brushing, then I ended up going back around and just dabbing little bits of paint, extra paint on, so that it kind of had that effect. I just needed a little bit of something around there. So you'll see in the end how it turned out. I did the front and the back and the sides just to give it a little bit of, you know, just zhuzh it up a little bit. Plus the gold will make it look a little bit more like Christmas. I'm going to actually put a gold bottle brush tree in here, and it's very glittery and shimmery, and so this will just tie it all together. And here's the bottle brush tree. Pretty sure I got this from Dollar Tree. If not, then Walmart. And I'm just sizing it up, and I needed something in there. So I just got a little block of scrap wood that I had over there in my stash, and I'm just going to hot glue it in there as a base, as a filler base. You could just use a little cardboard box. You could just use anything. Any kind of little scrap of anything. Well, that hot glue gun wasn't even plugged in, y'all. So I had to get my other hot glue gun that was plugged in. Now, here's this cloth that's one of those car cleaning cloths from Dollar Tree, and I just think it kind of looks like snow. It just looks really pretty at Christmas time. So I'm trying to decide how much of it I want, and so I put a little layer down to cover up that wood block. Then I decided I wanted to kind of make a little spiral so I could kind of lay it around the base of the trunk of that tree. Well, you'll see. And then I glue the tree right in the middle of that. And then just a simple little gold bow. Okay, for our last one, this little dish. I really struggled with what I was going to do with this little dish. I kind of had an idea, but I couldn't really figure out how I was going to make it work. So I took some more of that car cleaning cloth and I cut it, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom, which is now going to be our top. Okay, I'm going to glue it there so it looks like a little bit of snow, which you're really not going to see it much, but it's okay. Then I had this it was like a little piece of garland that had some little berries with some snow on them, some little pine cones, and I just made a little wreath out of it. And it was in my stash. I think I'd made the wreath previously. I don't even think I made it for this DIY. I'm going to glue it. It fit perfectly for this. I mean, this was just meant to be. It fit perfectly on the bottom of that bowl. I've got 3 little bottle brush trees in 3 different colors and sizes, and I'm just going to glue them in there in the center. We're just going to make a little vignette with this. If you had a little plastic reindeer, you know, one of those little vintage reindeers or a little wooden reindeer, it would be so cute to put that instead of one of the bottle brush trees, or do a bottle brush tree and a little reindeer, maybe a little bell. It'll be so cute. But I did not have a little reindeer, and I looked for a little reindeer and I couldn't find one. So I just did the 3 little trees in the different colors, and I love how it turned out. And then I just took some, I have some black and white check ribbon, and I'm pretty sure I cut it. Nope, it's red and black. Sorry, red and black gingham ribbon to make a little bow.
Hello friends, today's video comes with a story. So I found this piece of beautiful green scrap wood, and immediately it screamed Christmas trees, right? Rustic Christmas trees. So I cut them out with my miter saw, and then I was cutting some spindles, and either I wasn't holding the spindle correctly, tightly enough, because I was, you know, just going at it like I normally do, or my saw blade is dull, which totally could be a possibility as well. And boom. Well, yeah, we had a little accident. No lacerations, only soft tissue damage, but still hurts like crazy. So my video only has a few projects in it today. It's a quick video, so I appreciate it if you'll watch it all the way to the end and don't fast forward through it because it's a short video. And they're really cute projects. I got 2 projects out of the 1 piece of wood, the 2 Christmas trees. Just show you how you can really make good use of that wood. And then just rustic salvaged wood Christmas decor. Let's get crafting.
Okay, before the mishap in the woodshed, I went out and I cut that piece of wood. I cut at the angle that I wanted for my Christmas tree shape, and then I had those 2 pieces left over, so then I just cut the bottoms of them off, and I'm going to attach them together to make a second Christmas tree. So we're going to use every piece of this beautiful piece of wood that we possibly can and not throw very much of it away. I'm trying to find a green that matches so I can paint the cut edges an aviary. I'm trying to decide which one, and aviary matches it perfectly. So I painted all the raw cut sides with it, and then I actually took some dark wax and dirtied it up so that it looked like the worn, dirty wood. This was a piece of salvaged wood I got for free when I went and met up with a guy that I met on Facebook Marketplace. He had his backyard full of scrap wood and spindles that he was giving away for free. I was in heaven, and we are now friends. His name is Jake, and he is an amazing guy that's very creative, and he does a lot of cool things. And yeah, we're friends. And so now you can see I'm just putting some dark wax on there to make it match. I'm going to use a little piece of a skewer to attach. If you've watched my channel at all, you know this is my favorite way to attach 2 pieces of wood. And, you know, we're just going to stick that in there. And, you know, they make dowels to do this with, but we're not going to buy anything that we don't have to. So I'm going to drill that hole out, make it fit, make it match up, and then simply just glue it all together. I'm going to use the Type Bond Quick and Thick because it works awesome with wood, and I'm going to put a generous amount on there, and then I'm going to put just a tiny little bit of hot glue for a quick hold until that Type Bond sets up. And it says quick and thick, and it does set up quick, but I can't clamp it because of the angle of the wood. There probably are clamps, but I don't have any. So I use that hot glue just to help me out. Now, the spindles. This was an old Jenny Lynn crib. You might recognize it if you're old enough. And it has the holes where the other rungs come into it. So I filled it with some sawdust off the floor of the shop and some Type Bond Quick and Thick. I saw this somewhere in one of my, mini watchings. And I just mixed it together in a little cup and I filled the holes, and it dried super hard. And then I just took my little finger sander and I sanded and sanded and sanded. And I would have probably used my orbital sander, but it would have sanded down those beautiful little ridges. So I just sanded these down and left a little bit of that darkness. I'm showing you how beautiful it made those little knot holes. And I'm not going to paint these. I'm going to use a generous amount of dark wax by DIY. Now, Aviary is a DIY paint color, and so is this dark wax by DIY. I get all my DIY products from Sammy at unicorndustdesigns.com. Her website is always linked in every video. Please go over and check out her website for all your IOD DIY Saltwash products and all kinds of thrifted and upcycled beautiful decor. Now I'm not going to wax that whole entire piece that's going to attach to the bottom of our tree, because I want the glue to attach nicely. Now I'm going to go back over it with just a little bit more. I have some of that dark wax left in my brush, and I wanted it to be just a little bit darker. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that dark wax just around the edges. That's just my preference. That was the look I wanted today. Tomorrow, I may not want this look, but today, I wanted this look. So, yep, there we go. I must have showed you just a little bit extra because the video needed to be just a little extra longer. So I'm trying to decide which spindle I want on which tree. Which one I want to be taller, which one I want to be shorter, and this is what I went with. I drilled a hole in each one of these. I'm going to use a little skewer, a little stick. Same method. Love this method, love this method. Using my Titebond Quick and Thick. Going to squeeze a little bit of glue. It's getting down to the bottom, so I have to store it upside down. Shake it down, shake it down. Get that glue in the holes. Squeeze it down in there. Get a little bit on there. And same method. Get that skewer down in there, in that glue. And then, what am I doing? Oh, a little more glue. Just a little more glue. A little more just for good measure, right? If you put your cup of sugar, then you have to put just another pinch for good measure. Same way with glue. I'm trying to decide which I want to be the front, which I want to be the back, and where I want that filled in hole, which I'm calling my knot hole, because I didn't paint over it. You can see it, which I'm fine with because it makes it look more rustic. Now, I have these rusted stars I got at Goodwill, and the sides of them are, they're not really sharp, but they're metal, and the tops of these trees, it's kind of softwood, so they kind of cut the wood as you poke it down in there. I don't know how else to explain that. Gonna put just a very simple little shoestring twine bow, because every project that I do needs some kind of bow. Twine, canvas drop cloth, chiffon ribbon, something. I'm going to use a little bit of the super glue. What is this? It's the super glue that you get from Dollar Tree. I'm going to put it on the back side, and then I'm just, can you see that that's just sliding right down in that wood? And then I put it on the back side, and once it dried, it's on there. So this project is complete. So let me know what you think about this salvage wood tree project with the little spindles. I think they are just adorable. They will be for sale on my Whatnot show. Then I had these yard dice, and the kids never played with them, so I decided I was going to upcycle them. I'm going to use the Liquid Patina Dark and Decrepit by DIY, and I'm going to use an old brush. It's a what am I trying to say? Come on, help me out. The bristles are stiff. It is a stiff bristled brush. Okay, and I'm kind of dry brushing it. Now, I didn't sand this first, so it's a little bit slick. So this is not absorbing in there, which is fine. I'm just going to dry brush it on there. I just need a little bit of color on there. I don't want a lot of color. Oh, I did sand that a little bit, and then that with the 5 dots. But then I decided, no. I want to do this first. You know, it's just a process with me. It's like
squirrel. Or there's a couple of my friends that will understand when I say hawk. It's kind of an inside joke. Anyway, so here we go. I'm going to just dry that up a little bit where it's not, you know, there's no residue. We want it to be dry. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy little finger sander. If you do not have one of these, I highly recommend it. I do believe I have it listed in my Amazon store. The link to that store is in my description box. And all the goodies I love to craft with, or things that I actually have bought and crafted with, are down in there. It's in the description box, the Amazon storefront. You just click on that and it will take you there, and you can see all the fun things to craft with. This is what all the sides look like, and look how dirty my hands are from that. It's okay. It washes, right? And I'm going to take a soft old piece of t-shirt and just buff it out. And then just that dark wax that was left in that brush from the previous project, I'm just going to rub it all over. I got this beautiful bottle brush tree at Walmart. I think I paid $2.50 for it. And it has a very heavy plastic bottom to it. It was a little bit tough to get off there. And then a lot of berries went flying. I just glued them back on with some hot glue. I'm going to drill a hole right in the center of the number 4. I don't even know why I chose the number 4. I just decided whatever numbers I wanted to show, I don't know, just pick the side I wanted. Used my little handy dandy tabletop vacuum to get all of the sawdust off of there. That tree was making a mess, my friends. Everything was shedding. I was just gluing stuff back on there. Gluing those berries back in. And then I put just a tiny little bit of hot glue in there just to hold that tree in. And then I took a thicker jute twine and wrapped it around the base of it just a couple times and just tied it in a knot. I didn't do a bow. I just tied it in a knot. And I frayed the ends of it just a little bit so that it, you know, I don't know. It's supposed to be kind of salvaged and rustic looking. So I think that looks a little salvaged and rustic. You know, we're a little salvaged and rustic without Jesus, and he still makes us look beautiful, just like this thing looks beautiful. So let me know what you think about this.
If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Drop me a comment down in the comment section below. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.